So, encounter 2, the gang of the Gomorians. In this encounter, a fight breaks out between the PCs and a group of Gomorians in the employ of TEEMO the Hutt. The PCs were all successful in their attempts to hide, then we have advantage over the Gomorians. There are as many Gomorians as there are PCs, and the Gomorians are clustered by the door, engaged with one another. At the bottom of the steps, right at the door. Yeah, right there. They are at short range from the bar and medium range from the far side of the room. So we're actually, I think we're within short range for everybody. The PZ should note where they are on the cantina based on their actions, so I actually have them placed. Posh is behind the bar, pretending to be a bartender. Vex is hiding in the closet. Lorik is actually up in the rafters up above. Oska, the Twi'lek, is hiding in the shadows over here. So combat follows the following steps. We determine initiative, in this case based on whether or not the heroes hid. Participants take turns. Each character takes one turn. PCs can choose whatever order they act in. And then the round ends. A new round begins. Return to step 2 until the encounter is over. So determining the initiative. At the beginning of the first round of combat, all hero players and NPCs need to determine in what order the characters will make their turns. This is called initiative order. In most cases, this calls for a skill check from each participant, but in this case, the initiative order will be fixed based on whether the heroes successfully hid from the Gamorreans or not. Note that each initiative slot is claimed by a team, PCs or NPCs, not by an individual character, and the PCs can choose in what order they use their team slots. I need to figure out a good way to do initiative for these. So we're going to do PC, NPCs, and a PC slot. So that's going to be our initiative order. And I need a good way to track that. Maybe I'll use this for now. Okay, so we'll do that. And then we'll track this with a... Well, actually, let's not. I guess it doesn't matter. We'll use that. So we're on our first PC, and at some point I may make combat cards for this or something like that. So who's going to go first? So the Gomorian Thugs have a Brawn 3, Cunning 1, Presence 1, Agility 2, Intellect 1, Willpower 1, and they have a melee pool of 2 ability and 1 proficiency. They have a Soak 3, Wounds Threshold 6, strain threshold, they suffer wounds instead. So their equipment, they've got a cudgel with melee, and that's the dice pool. Its range is engaged, so they can't hit beyond their local area. It damages 5, and on 4 advantages, they inflict a critical injury. Note that since the Gomorian Thugs have no strain threshold, whenever they would suffer strain, they instead suffer wounds. I think since Vex has locked himself in the closet, we may decide not to make him do anything. Okay, so each round of combat consists of a series of turns in initiative order. Each character participating in the battle will take 1 turn. Beginning with the first result in the initiative order, 1 member of the team will take their entire turn. Then the round will progress to the next entry on the initiative order. Each PC can use any PC initiative slot, but each PC can only take 1 turn per round. PCs can choose who will act as each initiative slot is reached in the initiative order. They don't have to choose beforehand. They can also act in one order on one round and a different order on the next round. There's no permanent connection between a given PC and a given initiative slot. In the case of NPCs, it is normal for groups of similar NPCs, such as the Gomorian Thugs, to act at the same time. Just like PCs, NPCs can act in any order and can change their order from round to round. Once all the characters have taken a turn, a new round may begin. On each character's turn, that character can perform a single action and a single maneuver, in any order. Actions are not maneuvers, and maneuvers are not actions. Possible actions include perform an attack with an equipped weapon, use a skill, perform a second maneuver. Possible maneuvers include move to a new location within short range, or move between range bands, engage to short, short to medium, ready or stow a weapon or other item, such as a stim pack, use a stim pack, open, close a door, flip a table over to provide cover, or otherwise interact with the environment. You can aim, gain a boost die on your next attack. Take cover. Attackers suffer a setback die on their attacks against you until you leave cover, or the situation changes, such as that you don't have cover anymore, for example. Okay. So let's see. So characters can perform a second maneuver on their turn by suffering 2 strain or by using their action as a maneuver. Characters can never perform more than 2 maneuvers during their turn, nor may they perform more than 1 action. For example, on her turn, Askara draws her blaster carbine, a maneuver, and fires at an enemy, an action. Her shot misses, and Askara elects to take cover behind a table by suffering 2 strain to perform an extra maneuver. Non-combatants, like the bartender, the dancing girl, and the other patrons, don't do anything important during the battle. They run for cover, generally keep out of the way. There's no need to track their activities. The round ends, a new round begins. After all the characters have taken a turn, the round is over. If the battle is now done, one team has been defeated or fled, then the encounter is over and it's no longer necessary to track initiative. If there's more fighting to do, a new round begins and the process returns to the participant takes their turn step. During this new round of combat, the order of initiative slots remains the same, but the characters may act in a different order. They're not obligated to use the same initiative slot as they did the first round. Boost dice and setback dice. So that's these blue and black dice. These dice are independent of the difficulty of the check. Boost dice make the attack more likely to hit. Setback dice make the attack less likely to hit. Boost dice can be gained by performing the aim maneuver, and setback dice are added when attacking a target who is in cover. So, movement and range. In the Star Wars Edge of the Empire beginner game, range and distance are handled abstractly within a system of range bands. There are 4 range bands and a special condition known as engaged, in order from closest to furthest. Engaged, characters are close enough to touch, and that's the range of the Gomorian chopper thing. Short range is a few steps away. An easy shot with a blaster, it takes a single maneuver to move from short range to engaged, or from short range to medium range. In this encounter, short range is about halfway the distance across the cantina. Medium range, opposite sides of the room, an average shot with a blaster. Still close enough to be easily seen and heard, although characters must speak loudly to be understood. It takes a single maneuver to move from medium range to short range. It takes 2 maneuvers to move from medium range to long range. In this encounter, a medium range spans from one side of the cantina to the other side. And there are 2 other range bands, long range and extreme range, that aren't important here because the cantina is relatively small. You can use the character tokens to roughly indicate where each character is on the map and to estimate ranges between characters. Since the system is abstract, rough estimates are normally all that's required. Critical injuries. If an NPC suffers a critical injury, that NPC is simply defeated. If a PC suffers a critical injury, refer to the critical injury chart on the back cover. Performing an attack. The most common action performed by characters during a battle is to perform an attack with an equipped weapon against a target in range. First, the attacker should compare the range to his target against the listed range for the weapon. If the target is too far away, the attacker will have to move closer, choose a different target for the attack, or do something else with its action. Attacks are skill checks, and the skill used is determined by the weapon. Each weapon has the skill used to attack with it listed on its description, and the active character should gather dice for their dice pool as indicated for the given skill. The difficulty of the attack check, the number of purple difficulty dice added to the check, is determined by the circumstances of the attack. If the attack is at short range, it's easy, 1 difficulty die. If the attack is medium range, it's an average check with 2 difficulty die. Long range is 3 difficulty die, and then extreme range, I don't know. If the attacker is engaged with his or her target, it's an average with 2 difficulty die. If it's made with a melee, brawl, or ranged light attack, add 2 difficulty dice, and then if the attack is made with a ranged heavy attack, it's hard check with 3 difficulty dice. Character who use the aim maneuver may also add boost die to the attack dice pool, and characters who are in cover may add setback dice to attacks that target them. Once the dice pool is assembled, it's rolled and evaluated like any other skill check. Dealing damage and suffering wounds. If the attack is a success, it is a hit and it inflicts damage on the target. The damage inflicted by the attack is equal to the damage rating of the weapon plus the number of success symbols left uncancelled on the attack. For example, if Posh fires a blaster pistol with damage 6 and hits his target with 1 uncancelled success, he deals 7 damage. The target reduces the damage he or she suffers by his or her soak rating, a combination of the character's natural toughness and the armor that they're wearing. If a character's soak rating reduces the damage to 0 or less, that character suffers no wounds. Otherwise, the character suffers wounds equal to any remaining damage. For example, if Posh shoots a Gomorian Thug for 7 damage, the Thug reduces that damage by their soak value of 3 and suffers 4 wounds. When a character suffers wounds, that character's controller marks them on his or her character sheet, and the GM can use Scratchpad for NPCs. When a character's total wounds exceeds their wound threshold, they are defeated and knocked unconscious, and they suffer an immediate critical injury and remains unconscious until healed by another character. Ooh. NPCs who are defeated normally die outright unless the plot calls for them to survive with plot armor. So we've got 4 Gomorian guards, and the Gomorian guards had soak 3 and wounds 6. Okay. Oh my. So advantage. Characters may spend advantage to do several things. In general, the active player chooses how to spend their advantage symbols with the GM's approval. Options include you can spend an advantage to recover strain, spend 2 advantage to immediately perform a bonus maneuver, still only 2 maneuvers per turn, spend 2 advantage to give a boost die to the next attack against the target, spend advantage to inflict 1 critical injury on the target if the attack is successful. Each weapon requires a different amount of advantage, as noted on the description. You can spend advantage to do something else appropriate to the plot or the situation. Threat may be spent to do several things. In general, the GM chooses how to spend threat symbols. Options include spend a threat to suffer a strain, spend 2 threat to allow the target of the attack to immediately perform a bonus maneuver, even though it's not their turn. Spend 2 threat to add a secbat die to the next attack the active character performs. Spend 2 threat to add a boost die to the next attack targeting the active character. Spend threat to do something else appropriate. And then triumph. In a combat situation, triumph symbols still count as a success symbol and make an attack more likely to hit or deal damage. In addition, a triumph symbol can be used to inflict 1 critical injury on the target if the attack is successful, or trigger any effect that advantage symbols could trigger. Okay, so let's try and figure this out. So I think Lorik, who's up here, is right at the entrance. But I think because they're not engaged, well, shoot, what are we going to do? I mean, he's got to. It's so cinematic. He's going to drop down right in the middle of the 4 of them and attack one of them with his vibro axe. We're going to do the difficulty pool, and it's going to be 2 difficulty because it's in engaged range, and then it's 3 ability and 1 proficiency. So the maneuver was to drop down, and then we're going to attack with that vibro axe. So let's see. So threat. Okay. So this difficulty dice has a failure and a threat, and I'm going to use these 2 dice to cancel that out. And then all I have left are 2 advantages. Yeah. So I'm just going to use. I'm gonna give him an extra boost die. So let's remember that he's got a boost die on his next attack. So he misses. He like swings. He jumps down and attacks with the vibro axe, and the Gomorian sort of falls back on the steps and just manages to like sees the shadow or something like that, but falls back on the steps, and so that sort of being out of position is going to give Lorik advantage, give a boost die on the next attack against this one. And then the next PC, let's go with Oksara. Oksara has the blaster carbine. It's at short range, so it's 1 difficulty, and it's 2 proficiency and 2 ability dice. So that should be pretty good. Let's try this out. We're just going to target maybe like sort of lean out and do this against one of these guys. So that cancels out a success, so that's 2 successes, plus 9 damage, and soak is 6, just literally outright like nails it. So 9 damage with a soak of 3 and 6 damage completely toasts the Gomorian number 3. So this one is dead. And then Posh has a blaster pistol. And they're at short range, so that's going to be 1 difficulty, 1 proficiency, and 3 ability. So let's give that a try and see. And they're going to shoot at this other one over here. So that's 1 success and 1 advantage. And that's not enough to... It's really not enough to get a lot of stuff on there. Can't do critical or... So it's just going to be +1. So it's going to be 7 total. And so that's going to be 4. So we've got 4 damage on this guy. Okay, and now it is the Gomorian's turn. They're all engaged with Lowrick. Let's take a look at Lowrick. So their dice pool, they're engaged, so that's 2 difficulty and 2 ability and 1 challenge. So let's go with the first one. Oof, that's 4 successes. So that's 9, and then a soak. So yeah, 5. So that's going to be 5 on Lowrick. So the next Gomorian attacks Lowrick. Oof, that's a lot of threat. Nice. So that's a fail. Oh, but it got a triumph. So that's 1 success and 2 threats. Let me remind myself what. Oh, okay. So it's going to be a critical hit then. Ow. Spend 2 threat to allow the target to the attack to immediately perform a bonus maneuver. See, what I'm wondering is if I could use those 2 threat to add a setback die. Let's just do 2 strain. So let's see who that was. So number 2 has 2. There's no strain track, so that's 2 damage. So they managed to do a critical hit, but what happens is that their chopper comes down, and because they were fighting so hard, they hit their own leg for 2 wounds. So 5 and 6 and a soak of 4 is only 1. So Lowrick is at 6. But then we're gonna do a critical hit. If a player character suffers a critical injury, it suffers ill effects based on the number of critical injuries they are currently suffering from. Each critical injury persists until it is healed. First critical injury, difficulty heal, immediately suffer 2 strain, no ongoing effect. So we've got 6 wounds and 2 strain. Okay, that's not so bad. All right, and now the last PC is Vex. Should we try? See, what I'm sort of imagining in my brain is I'm trying to figure out if there's like a little computer in there or something like that we could cause some interesting threat. I think that there's a computer terminal in here, and I think that we're going to use computers, and what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to set off the lights over here to cause a to cause some sort of distraction. Yeah, it's going to distract us, too. Oh, screw it. He's going to lean out the door and shoot. It's in short range, so it's 1 difficulty, and he only has 2 ability die, so we'll give it a try and just see. That is a failure and a threat, so he's going to suffer a stress. So he's at 3 stress right now. Okay, so we're back at the top of the turn order. I'm going to go ahead and have Lowrick go again with that Vibro Axe. It's 2 difficulty, 1 proficiency, and 3 ability dice. And then we're going to attack this one, and so we're going to get this boost die. That's a lot of advantages. That's going to be a critical hit. So against this first one, that's enough to get a critical hit, and that's going to kill it outright. So number 1 is dead. And then our Twi'lek goes Ascara. Yeah, so she's going to go try and hit with the blaster carbine. So that's going to be 1 difficulty, 2 proficiency, and 2 ability. Nice. Oh, and it's a triumph. So that cancels out that, and it is a success with, yeah, everything. So we're actually going to go ahead and this second one, she shoots this one, and it's dead, because that was a critical hit. And then Posh is going to try. with that blaster pistol. So we're going to do 1 difficulty, 1 proficiency, and 2 abilities. So 1 threat and 1 success. So Posh is going to take 1 strain and then do 6, 7, and their soak was 3. That's actually exactly enough. That's 4 wounds. So that's going to just perfectly part this guy's hair, and that one is now dead. All right, excellent. Wow, that was pretty spiffy. The Gomorians are defeated. The silence that follows is broken by a slow, unamused applause. The Deveronian bartender approaches and laughs a brittle little laugh. I guess you're folks who need to get off the planet in a hurry. The good news for you is that I happen to know that there's a freighter in the landing bay Arak right now. The bad news is that its captain, Trex, is an associate of the Hutts and won't just let you on. The other bad news is that the reason I know it's still in the landing bay is that it has a broken hypermatter reactor igniter and won't be flying anywhere until it gets a new one installed. I bet Vorn over at the junk shop has one. Then he points at the door. Now, get out of my cantina. All right. At the end of each encounter, PCs have a chance to recover strain. Each PC recovers strain equal to their present score or ranks in cool skill, whichever is greater. So Posh has presence 3 and cool of 0. Ranks in cool. Right. 0 ranks. So can recover 3. So Posh is at 0. Vex can recover 2. So they're at 1. Lorik is presence of 2. So can recover 2. So they're at 0 strain. And then Ascara doesn't have any, and so we're fine. So the only one right now at the end of this encounter that has strain is Vex and has 1. Now we want to take a look at Vex really quickly. Once per encounter, use medicine skill to heal an ally. The check is easy if the character is equal to or below half the wound threshold, which is true. 1 wound per success and 1 strain per advantage. Once per adventure, you can heal a critical injury. So we're going to go ahead and do a difficulty 1, and then we're going to roll medicine, which is 2 proficiency and 2 ability. And we're going to try to get a bunch of successes. 3, 4 successes. So we can heal Lorik for 4. So Lorik is now at 2 wounds. And do we want to, does it make sense to do once per adventure you can heal a critical injury? Is that once per ever? So I can only do that once ever. I think we should wait and heal a critical injury later if we need to. Yeah, so we'll do that. That's encounter 2, and now we move on.